a piece of the pie.
A whole generation of kids, man, are being lost to this shit. The role figures that they have, you know, guys running around in BMWs and Mercedes with gold chains and, you know, bracelets and things like that. You know, kids want to be like that. They see these guys. They want to be the same way. And the only way to get that way is to sell crack.
In the neon haze of the 1980s, when the streets of Harlem, the Bronx, and South Central Los Angeles pulsed to the rhythm of hustlers, money, and death, America was living through a quiet civil war, fought not with ideology, but with cocaine. The names that rose from those blood-soaked pavements became legends whispered through decades. Frank Lucas, Nicky Barnes, Rayful Edmond, Freeway Rick Ross, Alpo Martinez, and Demetrius Big Meech Flannery.
The drug's so powerful, it will empty the money from your pockets, make you sell the watch off your wrist, the clothes off your back.
Or kill your mother.
They were the black drug kings of a nation addicted to the high. Not just the drug, but the life. The irony, though, is that their empires, which made hundreds of millions back then, would be worth billions in today's market. Yet most of them ended the same way: betrayed, imprisoned, or dead. But before the fall came the glory and the money. Frank Lucas used to say, the real money was in purity. Back in the early 70s, when he ran Harlem like a corporate CEO, Lucas cut the Italian middlemen out and imported heroin straight from the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia. He called it blue magic, and with a purity of 98%, it ruled the streets. At his peak, Lucas reportedly made $1 million a day, a number so large that even the DEA doubted it until they saw his bank records and the mountain of cash hidden under his aunt's house in North Carolina. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $7 million a day in today's money. Lucas's operation would have rivaled modern tech startups in revenue. But it wasn't just about money, it was about power. Harlem bowed to Frank Lucas. Even politicians and police whispered his name with caution. Then came Nicky Barnes, Harlem's other kingpin, dubbed Mr. Untouchable. Where Lucas ruled with quiet discipline, Barnes ruled with style. His suits were Italian, his cars were German, and his nights were legendary. The Seven Crowns crew he led functioned like a corporate board, disciplined, ruthless, and extremely profitable. Barnes's organization controlled almost 50% of New York's heroin trade by 1976. He had bodyguards, accountants, and lawyers on retainer. His fortune, estimated at $50 million then, would easily exceed $300 million today. When the New York Times Magazine put his face on the cover with the headline, Mr. Untouchable, Barnes thought he was immortal. But pride and betrayal destroyed him. His crew crumbled, and his empire turned to dust the moment he decided to testify against them.
92 people have been murdered in Washington since the first of the year. That's 38 more than the same time a year ago. A year in which murderers killed 372 people, the all-time high. Washington is now the murder capital of America, and possibly the drug capital, too. The district has about 625,000 residents. Every year, it arrests about 21 drug suspects for every 1,000 residents. In New York, the number is only 12 per 1,000. In Los Angeles, it is 10 per 1,000. Many suspects are from Washington's black school-age population.
By the time the 1980s arrived, cocaine had replaced heroin as the new god. Crack was cheap, easy to cook, and unstoppable. From Harlem to D.C., from Philly to Compton, it flooded the neighborhoods with both hope and hell. In Washington, D.C., a young prodigy named Rayful Edmond III emerged as the Prince of Powder. Born into a city already drowning in corruption and chaos, Rayful saw opportunity where others saw despair. At 17, he was already moving kilos. By 22, he had turned the nation's capital into a narco city. His mother, Constance Perry, helped launder the money through luxury boutiques. The Edmond organization made tens of millions weekly, a staggering number for that era. DEA agents later estimated that Rayful's crew moved nearly 2,000 kilos of cocaine a month. In modern-day street value, that's well over $200 million monthly. Rayful dressed like royalty, spent like a billionaire, and gave away money like a politician buying votes. In the basketball courts and nightclubs, he was adored, the Robin Hood of D.C. But the streets never forget. Power attracts envy, and greed breeds betrayal. His own people helped bring him down. When he was finally arrested in 1989, he had already changed the game. His organization's wealth could have built entire neighborhoods. Today, the scale of his business would rival international cartels. Meanwhile, on the opposite coast, a young man in South Central Los Angeles named Rick Ross was rewriting what street entrepreneurship meant. He started small, selling cocaine in nickel bags, but his intelligence and business sense turned him into the West Coast's most successful crack distributor. Freeway Rick became an invisible billionaire in a city drowning in addiction. During the height of his reign in the mid-'80s, he was reportedly buying 100 kilos of cocaine a day for about $45,000 a kilo and selling them for double or triple that. He made over $2 million a week, equivalent to over $5 million per week in today's economy. The empire spanned multiple states, Texas, Ohio, Missouri. But when the CIA Contra scandal broke and Rick learned that his profits were funding America's secret wars, the myth shattered.
That said that the crack market in South Central Los Angeles had been created in the early 1980s with the help of this Contra drug ring, and showed how once crack got hold in South Central and once the gangs got a hold of it, it was spread from South Central to other cities in the United States. And it ended up being a huge controversy.
When he was finally arrested, it wasn't his empire that hurt him. It was the realization that he'd been a pawn in a much bigger game. While Freeway Rick was redefining the West, Harlem found its new stars, young, loud, and unafraid of fame. They were fashion icons before rap had a stage. The trio turned Harlem into a movie set. Money raining, cars shining, and block parties that felt like premieres. They were making tens of thousands daily, the kind of money no record label could offer at the time. But as always, the higher they rose, the deadlier the fall. Alpo's decision to kill his close friend Rich Porter over suspicions of betrayal was the beginning of the end. When Alpo got caught, he flipped, a move that still echoes through the culture. He entered witness protection, a millionaire turned federal asset. But years later, he returned to Harlem, defying every rule of survival until his body was riddled with bullets in a Harlem street in 2021. The legend ended the way it lived, violently and dramatically. If Frank Lucas built the blueprint, if Nicky Barnes refined the structure, and if Alpo turned it into spectacle, then Demetrius Big Meech Flannery industrialized it. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Meech and his brother Terry Southwest T built the Black Mafia family, an empire that stretched coast to coast. They moved cocaine through high-end networks using rap music, nightclubs, and fashion as camouflage. BMF wasn't just a drug operation, it was a brand.
And then everybody from different places, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Detroit, Texas, Atlanta, Cali, you know what I'm saying, Florida. We got people from everywhere, and everybody move as one. Everybody is prospering in some kind of way, in their own way. Every man plays his own role, and everything starts with the leader. I'm a good leader, so I got good people that follow. You know what I'm saying? It's simple.
Meech lived like a hip-hop god, rolling with celebrities, funding rap labels, and throwing parties that looked like award shows. When the feds finally took him down in 2005, they seized $270 million in assets. Money, cars, homes, jewelry. But that number doesn't tell the full story. In today's market, BMF's operation would easily be worth billions. What made Meech different was vision. He wasn't just selling dope, he was selling a lifestyle. And that lifestyle would later inspire an entire generation of rappers, hustlers, and dreamers. So how much did they really make? And what would it mean today? If we measured their profits by inflation, by the street price of drugs, and by cultural value, these men were beyond rich. Frank Lucas's empire would be worth over $400 million today. Nicky Barnes's network could have surpassed $300 million. Rayful Edmond's monthly take would rival Fortune 500 revenues. Freeway Rick's Los Angeles pipeline would touch nearly $1 billion in modern value. Alpo's Harlem operation, though smaller in scale, was symbolic. It was the myth that sold in the streets and later on, screens. And Big Meech's BMF? If he launched that today with the same reach, social media influence, and distribution power, he'd be a multi-billionaire. These were not just criminals. They were unlicensed CEOs operating in an unregulated market that demanded blood instead of taxes. But beyond the money, there was something deeper: the psychology of empire. What drove these men wasn't just greed, it was recognition. In a world that denied them opportunity, they built their own systems. They created payrolls when corporations refused to hire them. They ran logistics, distribution, and marketing strategies before MBAs were mainstream. Yet their brilliance was trapped in a world that punished them for the same traits Wall Street rewarded. The streets gave them power, but never peace. And even when they made more money than most athletes or entertainers, they couldn't escape one truth: every kingpin eventually runs out of time.